All right. Hey, folks, it's Faz here from Faz Lifts. Today, I'm going to be talking about fasting, and the title is Fasting Makes You Stupid. So I'm going to talk about that. Firstly, thanks for making it onto my channel. Would love to have any likes and subscribes and any comments down below. Also, if you'd like to work with me on your own strength and physique goals, there is a link in the description for that. All right. So firstly, to give you an analogy, fasting is a little bit like playing a video game with a cheat code, but you can only use the cheat code so many times, right? Now, and that's great when you've got the cheat code available to use. You're using it. What happens when you run out? You guys have probably had this experience when you were a kid. Then you realize, actually, you know what? You're not very good at the game without the cheat code. And so you've had no practice at playing the game. So every time you try and play the game without the cheat code, you crash and burn. That is basically the point of this video. So going to start off looking at some of my notes here. So oftentimes it's highly useful when people lose an initial amount of weight. Like I see this on places like Reddit all the time. People will lose quite a lot of weight initially on fasting, and they'll get that reduction in appetite and all that kind of stuff. However, what it does, it tends to lead to a long-term reliance on fasting. And so what people will do is they'll just make up with the calories in terms of what they've saved by the fasting by eating more and more in the periods that they do eat. And they end up at a sort of a maintenance. But then it's very easy to overdo things because you basically train yourself to have larger and larger meals because you're making up what you lost in the fast in the times that you can eat. So it often leaves people with needing to fast like 3 times a week. And one of the worst examples I saw was some guy who had himself down as some sort of fasting guru, and he was on Reddit talking about how he combines alternate day fasting with the warrior diet. So it's essentially he just ate 4 meals per week, and that was all he ate. So he ate on like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Saturday night, and that's it. And that was his form of fasting. He said, yeah, you know, I can just about maintain at this body fat, at this eating schedule. So can you imagine what those meals were like? They must have been absolute extravaganzas to just not eat for such a large portion of the week. And he must have just been absolutely gorging himself for those 4 meals. It's not healthy. So it's not a very good sustainable model. So the feast periods must be absolutely insane. That was probably like the worst example that I saw. And he was putting himself down as some sort of guru expert on fasting. So this is the problem that I see, guys. So in terms of sort of getting into the weeds a little bit here, so it's a good blunt force tool to reduce calories, but the problem is this. Inherent in the method is it doesn't actually educate you about what you need to eat when you do eat. So the method is just fast. There is nothing inherently in the method to discuss what you should be eating when you do eat. So and they're usually set up to be called fasting and feasting periods, and that's not what you want to be telling people. So oftentimes when you do eat, the hunger is exacerbated. So people who have fasted will sort of sympathize with this. Once you have a bit of food after, say, a 12, 24-hour fast, the floodgates open and that's it, boom, especially if you're choosing the wrong foods to eat. The final thing is, thanks to some guys in the fitness industry who rhyme with Dr. Rung, you know what I'm talking about, they start to hype up fasting to be something that it's not. Like, fasting is a way of reducing calories. That's it. When you get to the point where you believe it's the fast in itself that's actually driving your body fat down rather than the reduction of calories, that's when you start to do silly things like eat excessively during the feasting period and not realize like why you're gaining lots of weight. Oftentimes people will then decide to combine this with ketogenic diets, and you get a very highly restrictive model of eating where you can't eat any carbs and you can only eat at certain points during the week. That's a very restrictive form of eating. Oftentimes that leads to some severe burnout or some serious problems. This is just my experience in fasting. Like, I should probably say at this point, like, I've done quite a lot of fasting, and you'll see a lot of stuff about fasting from me out there, but it always comes with the caveat that you've got to actually educate yourself on how to eat when you do. And understand that ultimately it's just a tool to reduce the calories. It's not anything magic in itself, and it can have lots of downsides if you're not careful. So Can you guys think of any sort of pattern of eating which is promoted out there, any diet which is promoted out there in the mainstream, where you eat absolutely nothing for 24 hours at a time, multiple times per week, followed by excessive gorging? And that is considered a sensible strategy. Like if you said that to somebody, like said that to your doctor, like, hey doc, this is what I do. Basically, I don't eat for like 24 to 48 hours at a time, and then I just smash a bunch of food. That's my diet plan. Coach recommended. They think you're crazy, and it is a crazy approach. It's not a sustainable approach. And as I say, take it from me, I've been around fasting for over 10 years at this point, but you've got a lot of people in the fringe circle of fasting who do things really poorly and end up with this ball and chain relationship with their fast, where when they fast, they feel good. When they're off their fast, they feel like crap because they just don't educate themselves on how to eat when they do. And they end up having these disordered eating patterns. And some of them end up with full-blown disordered eating eating problems. All right, so my summary is use fasting if you want to. Like it can lower calories, and for some people, abstinence is easier than moderation. So to a certain extent, it'll work. But at the same time, you've got to actually be in the process of educating yourself to improve your eating habits. Okay, try and always aim to build a good long-term sustainable model. And I'm going to link for you guys my video on what to eat on a cut, because that is really important. Like you've got to have a good, solid eating structure. Things which work for you, ways of tackling hunger, ways of tackling cravings, having a sustainable model which allows you to eat the majority of the time. If you want to combine that with a bit of fasting to improve things, sure, that's fine. But your overall model should be comprised of a sustainable habits, which you can do for a lifetime. All right, folks, I am going to call it there. Hopefully that was an interesting message for you guys. And as I said at the beginning, if you would like to work with me on your own fat loss, muscle gain, strength goals, there is a link in the description down below. Please do get in touch. All right, guys, I'll take you there.